Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishnan Nair. Here, basically, we are discussing 159th number of the part of the formulas. And this formula says that there are lots of stuff basically which is ongoing, and in this stuff, basically, there are lots of formulas which is ongoing, and we are basically preparing lots of formulas also. And in formula, basically, project management plan industry, that is basically PMI industry, has designed lots of plans. Basically, if we will say that project formulas are equal to plan, then it would be 100% correct. So what is plan? Plan means the login screen. The project manager told that the login screen which you are creating, that is not supposed to go beyond this $10,000. Then basically the plan is this, that the project the login screen is not supposed to go beyond $10,000. So this is the plan, right? So according to that, basically you have to prepare the formulas. Formulas means formulas are same, but you have to set the amounts, basically, you can say. So how you will be setting, so according to that setting, basically whatever setting you are going to be do, that basically is going to do through with the help of formulas only, because formulas are the only ways. On the base of that, basically you can able to calculate the each and every perfect plan, basically, you can say. And this plan is basically designed by the project management plan institute, that is basically PMI, who are basically in the United States of America, and they are basically handling the cost of the project management, and they are doing all the settings, basically, you can say. So these all are settings also, that also you can say. So this is the setting done by the USA, basically, you can say. And that setting is basically controlled by the Pune, basically, that is basically PMI institute, which are basically in the they are basically stay as in the Pune, basically, you can say, in PMI institute, basically. And PMI institute is in, I think, in Jodi or some other place, might be. So they are basically controlling the entire project management plan of the India, basically, you can say. So even Hyderabad also, basically, you can say. So each and every institute's plan, basically, you can say, that are basically controlled by the PMI institute. So who are basically the company, basically, are connected with the PMI, basically, that are basically almost 99.99 companies are connected with the PMI institute. How basically that we will tell. I will be telling you how, basically. For example, there are 100 base company, that is basically the main company, basically, you can say, that are Microsoft, Salesforce, then PHP, C, C++, and Java. Like this, there are more than hundreds of base companies, basically, you can say. And to create the perfect plan, what these companies are basically done, they have created the small companies, and in this, basically, the owner are basically the employees of their companies only. And if some restriction is there, then basically they have contacted their friends, basically, you can say, or some mutual agreement has happened that on the behalf of this, basically, you will be working. So like this, basically, each and every big companies are basically directly connected with the PMI institute also, you can say, because each and every big companies have the only authority to create the small software companies also, because from where basically you are going to get the projects, that is the main thing, right? And the project are basically my energies, basically, you can say. And the energies are basically nowadays converted into human needs, basically. So nowadays the bread and butter is what? Human needs creation. So this is the base. On the base of this only, the entire software industries is running, and on the base of the entire creation is happening. And this is the only way, basically, you can say, on the base of the entire software companies are running. That also you can say. Even the small, how many types of companies are there? That we will first discuss. CMM level 5 company, CMM level 4, 3, 2, 1. ISO level, private limited company, small isolation level companies, small private companies, small basically companies which basically they have not registered also, but they are basically getting projects from there. They are by default getting the projects from this source only, basically. That are basically big software companies. because on the base of the this base software companies only you are going to create the software. That's why each and every control of the project are basically controlled by these big software companies only, because they have only the authority. So on the base of this big software company, they are basically they have created the big small software companies, and the small software companies are basically into the development of the softwares basically. So the private limited companies, isolation level companies, CMM level companies, Six Sigma companies, like this basically many software companies are there who have the authority only to create the projects, because the base company has given the authority to them. If the base company will not give an authority, then basically how they are going to create the project? They will be cracking the software. Then also basically after some time the project will not work, because the base company have the each and every projects control, because they are responsible. If anybody creates the project, so they will be responsible. That's why basically they never uh, miss anything basically, and 99.9% basically they never miss. So each and every software company, basically big software based companies, are basically connected directly with the software companies, and their employees are basically by default. So if any big software company like Microsoft, PHP, and Python, then Python, SAP, if you are working in this big software companies, then basically by default you are a millionaire basically, you can say, because you are getting income from your company plus income from the other software companies basically which you have created. So for example, Microsoft told that we are going to launch $100 crore project in the market within 2 3 months. Just taking an as an example. So this project are divided into their employees. So their employee basically, only their employee basically, it's not possible to finish the stuff basically, because they have their own stuff also. Base companies there. So according to that, only their stuffs are getting prepared. They have to create the each and every updates, so it's not possible to create everything from their end. So they have created the framework. According to that, few company basically says that we have created the framework. So according to this only framework, basically you have to work. So that type of employees are also there basically, who says that we have the structure of the each and every software. For example, one CRM project, he got the CRM project contract by the Microsoft, that you have to create the CRM project. So he designed the entire framework, and for example, in PHP there are many frameworks. Symfony is there. Symfony is basically framework. It's created by one of the PHP developers, basically, you can say, who are basically good into development. So they have created ready-made functions. So the developer basically who are into the software industry, they just need to call the functions only, that nothing else. They have to include few things, few parameters, few functions. Just they have to call the functions basically, you can say. So same way basically Microsoft also created few frameworks, and according to the framework only you have to work. So according to the CRM framework basically, which is designed by the Microsoft company employee, so within this framework basically you have to work. So you can just imagine the seriousness level also, you can say, because few employees are very serious about their projects, because they says that if when a project is getting wrong, then he will be responsible. That's why basically he creates company, he creates his own framework. Within this framework only you have to work. That types of perfect people are also there basically, you can say. And mostly basically uh, the big software company, they only design the framework basically. How basically, that I will tell you. Because they only send the patch files, right? For example, one software company, that is basically one small software company, private limited or CMM level company, they told Microsoft that basically we are going to create the CRM software. So the CRM software was given by which person to this company? That was given by one of the Microsoft person only, and assume that this is going to create from in Microsoft only. So that person only who given the software to these people, that is basically CM level 5 or private company, he is only going to send the patch file also. That is basically the alternate patch file basically, which on the base of the product is going to be developed. So you can just imagine the updates basically which is going to be sent to that company. that is basically directly connected with this CRM software only. So they have the person basically he has designed the framework also the dot in the within the .NET which within the .NET framework where basically he have to work. So you can just imagine the perfect plan basically you can say that is basically and this basically all are basically connected in that's why basically the micro if Microsoft gets an audit that how many projects you have completed in the market and how many projects are ongoing in the market then basically it's very easy why because they just have to call their employees and ask the list of data basically and they keeps the project management plan. So they just need to contact their employees only, nothing else. They don't have to connect with the companies. So this is basically the perfect plan, basically you can say. So Microsoft, not only Microsoft, but the say big software companies, C, C++, Java, they are also going doing like this only. So so the project management plan basically this is also one of the part of project management plan you can say, which is basically designed by the Microsoft big base companies basically you can say who says that we have basically created the project PMI basically that also you can say because PMI basically previously was not there right, but the Microsoft company says this whole company was there basically. So they have designed the project management plan that also basically you can say. So if I say that project management plan was long before also, then also it would not be wrong basically. But the main thing was it was not came in front of the public. That the public here is software companies basically. So the software companies never told that we are basically developing in this project management plan and we are connected with the PMI institute that are basically in Pune and the brand head office is in USA, that is basically United States of America. So you can see, just imagine the plans basically, how the plans are getting designed, how the managers are getting planned, how the CEOs are doing the plans, how the vice presidents are doing the plans, how the company's owners are basically doing the plans, and companies owners are connected with the set of clients basically how they are doing their plans. You can just imagine if you connect this all this thing and merge in with one document, then you will see some higher level plans basically you can say. That is basically the Microsoft's plan basically. Microsoft plan basically, for example, Microsoft told that from CRM basically we are going to develop one fruits that is a apple and a few vegetables. So this was basically the plan of Microsoft, and this is the plan of Microsoft. According to that, basically, so this is basically the upper level plan, basically you can say. So the upper level plan is this. Now they start created the framework basically. So first the employee basically who got the Microsoft employee who got this contract basically on the behalf of Microsoft, he is going to design this project. So he designed the framework of the .NET itself, and then basically he sent the patch to the that software company who is going to develop this CRM. Basically. So that CRM company don't know that this CRM project is going to convert to the vegetables and the apples, but the power companies and the energy companies and the nuclear companies knows that the Microsoft company, this employee is handling this project, and this employees has given the contract to this software company which is the where the where basically the owner is this employee only basically, and on the behalf of that basically that is the owner. So like this the connection, just see the connection and the management plan also you can say. So the company basically which is creating the CRM, they have the certain goals basically, right? In a modular way, the coding you have to do, and if you are doing the project in the modular way, then only basically it is going to be approved. So there are lots of approval also of the coding side also you can say. So this coding, if this type of coding you are doing, then basically it will not it will not accepted by the senior level developers. If you are doing this type of coding, then basically the senior level developer will accept it. So approval are also there basically that you have to do this type of coding only. Why? Because the framework is designed according to that only. Because the framework says that if you are designing like this in this methodology, in this modularized coding and in this technique, then only the apple and the vegetables are going to create. because each and every chains are connected with each and every energies are connected with the dot, because .NET framework itself is designed in that way that if you are doing this type of thing, then only, for example, I will say that I will write one line code, and if I say that this one line code is connecting to that direct area, that is basically in New York City. In New York City it is connecting to this 4 to 5 buildings, then you can't believe this. But it's correct. That's why basically the modular codings are written, and the set of techniques are basically written. And in this technique only, basically you have to write the each and every coding. That's why basically lots of functions basically that Microsoft company basically he creates his framework, and he has created his framework, and within that framework basically he has written the each and every line codes, and that lines of codes are basically directly connecting to the physical locations, and that physical location is New York City. That is basically 4 to 5 buildings. So you can just imagine the one line coding also, that is also basically connecting to the physical locations of the location. But when you are writing the coding, that time it's not connecting. When the project is over, when the power company basically knows basically each and every line basically code are directly connected with the physical location. But the project manager plan, project delivery heads, CEOs of the company, and the company owner also, it's very difficult to track this. That this line is basically connecting to New York City. That also basically in the 4 to 5 buildings. It's not possible. So Microsoft group basically knows that this line basically code is connecting to New York City, and in New York City is connecting to the 4 to 5 buildings. So that only Microsoft only knows, and the employees basically who are working in the Microsoft. So that employee basically creates his framework. He creates his .NET studio basically, you can say, and within that studio, each and every things are basically designed. That these all are the basically the boundaries. Within this boundary, basically you have to create. That's why basically he designs the framework also and give to the CRM company basically. You can say that is basically his company only, on the base of where the software companies are going, or in the base of the CRM project is which is going to be created. So you can just imagine the plans which is getting created. You can say. So this is the perfect plan basically. You can say this is the perfect plan of the Microsoft also. You can say, and this is the perfect plan of the software company. He is by default basically the employees is the by default the owner of this company, and you can just imagine the plan which is created by the software companies and the big software companies. And this is basically the best example of the PMI, that is basically Project Management Plan Institute, which is basically situated in Pune, and they have the headquarters in USA basically. That is basically United States of America, which is basically near Europe basically you can say. So you can just imagine the plan basically which is done, and the USA basically have the each and every line of code and the physical location where the things are connected. One example, basically, one example I will take. For example, there is one Unix command, right? Unix is shell is there, or any software technique, basically, you can say. If you want to go to that particular area, how basically we will do? So there are 10 to 15 lines of code, basically. On the base of this 15 to 16 line code, then only you can able to connect to that areas basically. So that is basically uh, the perfect example of the physical location connection basically, you can say. So this is basically created by the software companies that are basically the base companies, and the construction companies also basically, you can say. So the construction company knows that this is the physical location, and but they don't know the coding basically. They don't know the coding, but they know that in this area this is getting generated. So according to that, basically the power company supplies the power to that area according to the Mm, according to the plan, basically the land areas groups basically that are basically one companies basically who gives the energy to the lands, and on the base of the land energy which is getting by the city and that area basically, according to that basically the data are getting prepared in the buildings. So you can just imagine the plans also, you can say how the each and every plans are connected, each and every plans are chained, and each and every things are basically connected. So here basically this is the best example of the project management plan also, you can say, which is basically designed by the, this is actually not designed, this basically comes internally only basically as per the because when the SAP were designed, I will take one example. The SAP company was designed when the SAP company came into India in within I think 2000 or some near above, but the plan was started 30 years before 2000, so that you can say 30 years minus year two, so 1970 or 70s the SAP has started his plan. So 30 years has taken SAP company to just create his construction areas. So you can just imagine the plan basically. So 30 years it took to just to create the physical location of the SAP. So that was basically the coding, you can say. The coding which SAP is going to do, that coding part basically has taken 30 years to prepare. That's why basically each and every framework basically which is getting designed, that basically by default the base company only do the designing. Why? Because they only know the each and every boundaries, that this area basically you have the SAP architecture has created, that is for that purpose. That area is created, that is for that purpose. From that area basically you are going to generate the fruits, that from that area you are going to generate the vegetables, from that area you are going to generate the oils, because SAP is telling that we know the natural resources are going to be over one day. That's why basically the plan has prepared. That's why the software industry has it came into picture and they are preparing the plan. So SAP has prepared the construction areas 30 years before, that was basically 1970s. So from 1970s the SAP is creating their areas that are basically, you can say, the coding part basically, which is getting created. For example, to write one line code, it has taken 4 to 5 buildings creation basically, you can say. So when the photo line buildings was created, that might be tested also in the editor also, one of the SAP editor, because it's not possible to test. You can say the agile methodology mostly might be used. Water flow methodology also might be used, but it's mostly basically agile methodology can be used, might be used, because after these 5 buildings creation, so they might have tested that this line coding has done. So they might have used the editor also. So which editor was used on the to test the this 4 to 5 buildings is created, and this photo line buildings is going to generate this one line coding. So that one line coding was tested also by the SAP construction groups basically, that is basically authentication groups. So here basically we are stopping it, and this is basically the construction areas of the SAP industry, Microsoft industry, Salesforce industry, who says that we have prepared the coding part 30 years before. So you can just imagine these user stories are basically designed by the Bollywood industry, and the Bollywood industry says that we have prepared the software industry, and on the base of software industry, sorry, on the base of Bollywood industry, the entire software industry is working. So this is basically 159th number part, and in 160 we are going to take something good example, some good example. This is basically the one of the good example which we have taken. So in 160 basically we are going to take some more good examples.